started, kind of introduce the three of us who will be on the panel today. My name is Stephen Harten. I work with White Critter Contracting. We're a general contractor in the White Plains, Westchester area. We do a lot of commercial building and general contracting. Went to school at SUNY Delhi for construction management, and been working in the industry now for 6 years.
Annemarie Picinich. I work at McLaren Engineering. I'm over in Lake. We have a few different divisions. I'm working in a marine division. I started working there about 1.5 years ago, and before that I went to the University of New Hampshire for 4 years, and then got my master's in structural engineering.
My name is Zane Pointon. I studied electrical engineering at the University of Buffalo, and I've been in Kiewit since 2018. So our main office is also located in Lake, actually, and I think we're right down the road from here. And I have worked in the New York City area ever since I got hired on. I've worked in transportation, so I've done projects for Metro North, Amtrak, New York City Transit.
Alright, so we want to make this as interactive as possible, so we're going through. Parents, kids, anyone can stop, ask questions. If you have something to put on your end, feel free, raise your hand, let us know. We'll make this as fun for everyone as possible. Alright, so first, what is engineering? It's a big question. We can go into a long-winded response of what engineering is, but it can mean a lot of different things. So, basic definition: applying scientific, mathematical, economic, social, practical knowledge to design and build structures, machines, devices, systems, materials, and processes. So it's kind of the textbook definition. We're going to get into the different types of engineering and kind of more focus on what each individual one does and what you can kind of expand on your knowledge with these students. So here's a list of some of the main different types of engineering: aerospace, biomedical, chemical, civil, computer, electrical, environmental, industrial and systems, mechanical, nuclear, naval and maritime, structural, and transportation. So we'll click through kind of each one. If you guys on the panel, feel free to know a little more about some of these engineerings. I might, or if anyone has questions, kind of jump in. So mechanical, first one. This is kind of working with machinery, kind of how things operate. As you can see, this is looks like some type of crane dance thing that's going on here in Singapore. You guys know anything with mechanical? What's your thoughts?
I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's pretty cool. The way I've always told people about mechanical is anything that has a moving part, a mechanical engineer is going to have a hand on it one way or another. So you can let your brain wander with that however you want. It can be anything from a car driving on the road. It can be a ship driving through the sea or something like that. Of course, Marines don't have a hand in that, but you're definitely going to have a mechanical engineer along the way. So very diverse field of engineering.
What kind of careers do mechanical engineers tend to go into?
So a lot of it, you'll become a mechanical engineer. So I actually know a couple people that went for school for this, and they work in some different facilities or where they kind of manufacturing different pieces for equipment. It's also going to be designing. So there's a few different options you can get into. Aerospace. So another one, don't know. So this one is honestly working with planes. You can be designing them, how properly they function. Here you can, I think, also get into if you want to be a pilot and work with the military, private flying. It's kind of a little bit aerospace.
I was just laughing at this diagram with magic. Your job as an engineer is to make magic happen. You make the things happen that people, normal day people, can't really explain to their friends. They're just happy it works.
Biomedical engineering. So I like to look at this as kind of how humans are performing. You're studying them. You might be able to work with different professional athletes in this and see how they can advance their top performance to get stronger, faster, quicker. see one of the pictures here, you can be working with the brain, how the human brain works, why does it work in different ways. It's kind of studying why we are the way we are.
Big growing field,
Yeah,
aesthetics and stuff like that.
it's definitely one that kind of just on the brink of kind of learning everything about it, so it's going to be one that's keeps growing and expanding.
It's not really a strength in the field of things.
Exactly. Chemical engineering, so this one, I actually know a couple people that I'm friendly with, they're in chemicals. This is working in a lot of labs, maybe for medical facilities, science and technologies. It's kind of working chemistry to, I don't know, it's like more science-based thinking. Civil engineering?
Yeah, this is probably right next to mechanical. This is one of the wider fields. So when I think of civil, I think of roads, I think of bridges, anything that involves dirt, moving it and everything. This is huge. Like you're looking, this is probably the biggest scale of engineering. You're not, electrical engineering, you might be working with little circuit boards and stuff. Civil engineering, you're never going to be with anything smaller than like a desk. It gets huge.
Yeah, really any structure. So marine engineering, it's a smaller field of civil engineering, it's more just the marine waterfront design. But I know from McLaren, they have entertainment division, so building sets and stages, that's also engineering, yeah. A little bit of mechanical for moving parts. But yeah, transportation too, that's kind of a subset of civil, I don't know if that's in your slide or not. But traffic and transportation, actually, really interesting. Really cool to learn about.
I actually really underestimated that from the outside looking in. When I was becoming an engineer, the amount of work that goes into roads and bridges and highways, it's insane.
Those roads and bridges you guys might have driven over to get here today, that's always designed by a civil engineer. It takes time kind of figuring out, make sure everyone's safe traveling.
Do you consider management of data and protecting data, like the computer systems? I know you mentioned computer engineering. Is that also considered another engineering discipline?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're working computers manager, that's computer engineering. That's a different field I can get into as well.
I work for banks, and they're managing huge amounts of data today.
Yeah.
And cyber is always a concern.
Yeah,
Now more than ever, yeah. Probably along the lines of biomedical, that's one of the biggest growing industries is anything behind a keyboard. That's huge.
I'd say that falls onto the category of data science.
Yeah, it sort of fits between a couple of categories of electrical and computer, and some of the schools have, like West Point has a systems engineering program. And so now it's good, it's another area for the students to consider.
I wouldn't be surprised if that broke off as its own branch, like cyber engineering or something like that.
Sure.
Question over here.
In regard to the question that was just asked, that's both computer science, data science, and cybersecurity. They're independent fields, although they have touches with engineering components, but they're their own fields. Data science is its own field where you analyze a lot of data and you interpret trends. And whereas in cybersecurity, you're looking at all of the different kinds of intrusion detection, intrusion prevention into all the networks that are there around the world, including banking or education or anything, name it. So they are their own independent fields. One of the questions I had here was structural engineering. Is it part of civil?
Yep. Yeah, structure is a subset of civil.
Thank you.
Sounds like you have good background, but I might need to talk to you.
Might help us with the presentation.
Yeah.
Environmental engineering, this is another one too that's kind of been getting out there more often. This is, you can see, connecting the ecosystems, monitoring air pollution, so it's kind of based with the environment we're living in. How do we make sure we're keeping it safe as far as how the building's going, making things efficient so that the world that we're living in is staying as it is or even getting better, improving where we're working.
So at my university, the civil and environmental engineering department was kind of grouped together So I had a lot of friends in environmental, and I actually took a few courses with them. So stream restoration, which is great, got outside, engineering to determine, you know, the state of the stream and if it's degrading or how to modify it to keep the health of the river. Water treatment plants, and it's really cool.
So a while back in Japan, I'm pretty sure they had a really big tsunami that happened, and now they have certain machines that will monitor the oceans for like earthquakes and things. Would that also be considered environmental engineering?
Yeah, those are the engineers and the ones that kind of design these machines, and then they're also monitoring. Yeah, it's also a way to help prepare for these natural disasters that are coming. You can't always prevent them, but as long as we can be prepared and know when it's coming, that's what the engineers are there for. Good question. I would say they're kind of like sub station of that engineering, similar.
That's more,
Yeah.
but I'm sure they work with an engineer in one way or another.
So one of my professors at school actually specialized in snow and hydrology, which is actually really cool. So she went out to Alaska, I think, for a little bit for testing for the depths of the snowbanks and for the snowfall. But yeah, it's interesting to look at.
Both of your points though, when you are an engineer, you're not just pinholed and working in one area with just, say you become a civil engineer, you're not only gonna work with civil engineers, you're gonna work with mechanical engineers and electrical engineers, marine engineers, and you're gonna understand what they provide to you as well. You're gonna understand what a meteorologist can provide, you know, so you're always working with other fields as well.
You mentioned the chemical engineering. Does that ever overlap with like vaccines then, research? Or
Yeah, that would,
medical?
yeah, if you're in a lab, certain, like specific for vaccines.
So hospitals might employ pharmaceutical companies to employ chemical engineers.
Correct, yeah. Or they can hire out some labs that work, it's gonna work for them.
I've seen a lot of chemical engineering too in manufacturing, like 3M. Hires a lot of chemical engineers. I'm glad to talk about electrical. This does a really good job of explaining electrical because on the left, I don't know what that, oh, it's a battery. It's a little battery you see on the left. You know, it goes from everything from the little batteries and transistors in your smartphone all the way up to what you see. You probably see these things along the highways driving. These are transmission lines. You poke that thing with a stick in your fried egg. Like, yeah, like it can be anything from a little bit to massive. There's so much in it. I can talk about it for days. If anyone has questions after we're doing this, feel free to ask.
We got fire protection engineering, so this is, and any building that you're working in now, there's probably a fire protection engineer that was involved with designing this. You see you got smoke detectors, sprinklers, fire alarms, schools, any commercial building you have this, it's just they're coming in to make sure that in case of an emergency, the building will proper functionally, or at least try to stop the fire or slow the fire down for people to evacuate until first responders are there and help. So these guys kind of work for hand in hand with the fire department. They're heavily involved, let them know what their requirements are. It's definitely a good one that's needed in, like I said, every building that is being built. Structural engineering. Like I said, that's another one here, but this is the one with all the bridges and roads. Ken kind of touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, all I'll say is it's pretty fascinating. Like, I've been on a couple bridge jobs for the Department of Transportation, and it's just incredible what goes into it, the scale of it. You take it for granted when you drive over it on your way to work or to school every day, but the amount of engineering and time and labor and effort that goes into it, it's incredible.
So what is the difference between structural engineering and civil engineering?
Kind of like what you said. I also consider structural a subset of civil. So civil is just more broad, more static engineering where things that don't move too much. And under that, I would say is bridges and stuff like that, where you will have structural, or buildings where you'll have structural, where it's more focused on the actual members that contribute to the overall.
Yeah. So at my school, we had civil engineering degree, and then a few of the specialized courses for juniors and seniors you could focus on in structural engineering courses. So bridges, transportation, the different materials, so like concrete or steel, that was more geared towards structural. But then you had, there's so many now, but environmental, geotechnical, which is more soil-based, and earth, but yeah, bridge is more of a subset of civil, I would say.
They definitely borrow from each other a lot, you know, like that fire one, that's mechanical, electrical, structural.
Yeah, they're all, a lot of them are related one way or another, and get more specialized depending on what job you choose, but, so they're all kind of, as mentioned before, they all work together. Structural engineering with buildings, buildings, bridges. And, so we're gonna have some questions for us, but before we jump in, yeah.
So, I'm just curious, did you always have an interest in engineering or in the field that you're in now, or what was your journey towards that?
We can kind of go through each one, just so you can start off, and that's funny, kind of
Yeah.
the questions we have, we can start.
It's definitely had its ups and downs, I'll say. It's not the easiest field you could ever choose, that's for sure. You will be challenged a lot. But if you're the type of person that enjoys being challenged and you like to solve problems, there's likely a field in engineering that's there for you. I always liked taking things apart and stuff like that, putting them back together. What really got me into engineering was my senior year. I took a physics class and I loved just putting numbers to how things actually behave. I remember struggling in college a lot and doubting whether I wanted to be an engineer, but then getting an internship and realizing, no, I really do love this stuff. And ever since I've been working, I kind of love that.
I didn't really know about engineering in high school. I was more focused on math and science, really loved math, I like building things. So I went to school undecided, but within the College of Engineering and Physical Sciences, so I knew I had a few options. And then I kind of stumbled across civil engineering. I was going through each major, and I thought, that would be really cool to learn about. And I love it. Something new every day, different projects, and yeah, it's different structures and designs, different calculations. It's not the same thing over and over again. I'm excited to go to work every day, so it's surprising. But no, I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so I'm not engineering, I'm construction management, so I was like working with my hands. I went to BOCES when I was in high school, and I went to trade school for 2 years, was an electrician for a couple of years, decided to go back to school, went for management, and so I kind of got into construction management end of it. That now I get to work with the engineers, they're the ones that go out, design the different projects and buildings, hand the drawings to me, and then we go out and build it. And throughout the whole project, I was working with the engineers, questions come up. Yeah, it's kind of got me involved with it. So I was like working with my hands, so I wanted to be in the construction industry.
What's studying engineering in college like? Like, is it really like the hardest thing ever, or is it like I'm going next year, so I'm just kind of.
I'll let you go first. You're the master's student.
So you're saying Master's of Engineering, or?
No, so I'm a senior in high school. I'm going to study engineering next year. I was just kind of asking, like, is it really like the hardest thing ever, or is it kind of like?
No, freshman year, I wouldn't say it's too hard. You kind of ease into it with kind of your more elective and general classes. Like I took a few math classes, a few physics classes, definitely labs, which is great, get your hands on things, work different groups. So I was actually working with, I had a mechanical engineer, environmental engineer in my lab, and it's great to kind of meet everyone together and then you kind of go your separate ways within the department. It gets, I would say, more difficult junior, senior year. You're taking more technical classes, so it's taking more time out every day for labs, reports, projects. I was using the computer more, so spending more time in the computer lab with software programs, but it's doable. You have a good group of professors and good peers around you, I think, yeah.
any classes you would strongly suggest students take in high school that could give them an inkling as to whether or not they'd like fit well with engineering or not fit well?
I think it probably depends on which school you go to. I know in my high school, I think there's nothing really like engineer based. There was some computer design for CAD. Nothing too specific.
Anything technical, I guess. Like my high school, we didn't have anything really. I heard rumors of schools that have robotics programs and stuff like that, and now it seems like every school has one, which is awesome. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It was physics that got me interested. It was like a group of like 6 of us taking a physics class, but yeah, that's the one that got us 6. And then Google. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think any of the science, technology, math classes will kind of help you. That's the way to kind of, engineering is more teaching you what to think and learn. The more of those advanced math and science classes are going to help you be prepared for college.
I have questions about marine engineering. So, like, what do you do in general? Like, I'm wondering for students who are interested like in biology, and then is that connected, or what exactly is marine engineering?
Yes,
I guess a little bit. So there's a few projects where it's like more bulkheads or piers, the design of that. There's also some permitting that goes into it with the government agencies. So we do look at the fish habitats and kind of what would be affecting underneath the surface. Not so much biology though. More life sciences, I think. But so I do more structure-based calculation design, feasibility studies.
So your structures are connected to living things? What's the marine part?
Marine, just I would guess water. Water-based.
Like a bridge, like the piers go over the water.
Yeah. So when you walk along the riverside, if there's big rocks, riprap, or the bulkhead underneath you that's kind of pulling the soil back into the water so you can actually build a surface above. When you walk out to a pier, the piles that are actually holding the pier up. The design of that. Ferry landing, we do a lot of ferry landing. Really cool. Yeah, I guess more water, not so much marine life science or animals.
So it's not about the living things, it's about building things within water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I can go industrial like this. My brother's actually in industrial. It's kind of work for different factories and kind of make sure things are produced more efficiently, how to make things easier in different companies. So he's working in a factory, going around saying, all right, how can we make this process work a little bit quicker so we save time, save money. That's more industrial. What's the other one? Systems.
Just, I think they're a little bit intertwined. I remember my first job was at a grocery store, and my manager, I was assembling one of the things that holds like Snickers bars and displays them on a nice box. And my manager walks up and he's like, "You see that box you're assembling? Some systems engineer got paid $100,000 to design it." So yeah, like processes is typically I try to think of a systems engineer or industrial engineer. Like the iPhone that everybody uses, they need to be as efficient as possible in the assembly line to manufacture that. And there's a brain behind all of that for figuring out when the battery gets placed into it and when the circuit board gets soldered on it and everything like that. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Similar to it, but even working at UPS, they have a systems engineer. They got to figure out how can we deliver all these packages quickest to everyone, just as far as stacking everything into a truck quickly. Where's the route so they get to the door in and out, save the time. You need to get these packages to these houses at a certain amount of time. So a lot of companies use them to kind of be more efficient. Questions? Yeah.
If you had an internship in college, what was the difficulty in your experience in getting that, and how did that affect either what major you decided to pursue, what you keep pursuing, or how you got a job later on?
Start, and I'll kind of go around. All right, I'll start off. So I had a couple different internships. Like I mentioned before, I started as working with my hands as an electrician. So every summer I was working in the field with different electrical companies and kind of some of the residential, commercial. That was the day-to-day on your hands and knees working. That's why I was like, oh, this can kind of teach you up a little bit. I wanted to learn a little more about the management end of it when I went back to school. And a lot of colleges do have school fairs where companies will come out, something like this, you can meet different companies and give you internships. It also helps just kind of reaching out to certain companies. I made a couple calls. That's how I got my first internship in construction management. I had a friend whose dad was in the industry, gave him a call, he was able to help me get a job. So it's just kind of going out and meeting new people. Once you get an internship, one leads to the next and you do a good job.
Yeah, no, I agree. My first internship was with a really small company, and I really just found out about Googling local companies, and I reached out and was lucky enough to get an internship. I mean, don't be afraid to email around. You'll find something. People are always willing to take a chance on students. They love, having students intern because then if you really enjoy it, they'll likely ask you to come back, and it's good for them too, because they have someone that learn, like every day tasks, and you kind of fit in with your team, and then you come back and you can do more when you come back. Working them full time. Yeah.
Paid or unpaid?
It really depends. Mine were both paid.
Yeah, mine were all
depends,
paid.
though.
Mine were paid.
A lot of nowadays, a lot of them are paid, kind of, because there are so many options out there. If you want to hire people, you gotta kind of do it.
Yeah, yes.
Not trying to advertise my company, but I wish I had interned at mine, like they give housing for interns and stuff. Like they,
College level?
college level, yeah. But I will say, even for high school kids, like, there's I don't know if you guys are hourly, I'm working free today, like, because I like talking about it. And there's nothing stopping you from reaching out to anyone at those tables out there and asking to shadow or something like that. They're here because they love to teach and show people what they do. So keep that in your back pocket.
Which company are you with?
Kiewit.
Oh, you're with
But everybody here is in the same boat, I'm sure.
Yeah, Ken and I, the company I'm working for now, I interned at 2017, 2018, still with them now full time, so they like, when you intern, they like to keep the interns working with them, so they know what type of work you are. So I have a question in the back.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, you being a female, was it difficult for you in that industry? Because I have two daughters, so I just wanna make sure that, how difficult was it for you to become an engineer as a woman?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. In my graduating class in college, there was about 60 students for civil engineering. I would say about 10 of us were female. And honestly, we all got along really well, and we really stuck by each other's sides. And I was awarded Society of Women Engineers in college too, which it wasn't just civil, it was more all engineering from my college. And it's great to meet them and see what they do, where they work, and see what classes they're taking. And they might actually help you with a certain program that you're not familiar with. But I didn't see any trouble with it. Yeah, they should be fine. And it's on the up too, so we need more women in engineering, so.
There's a woman in engineering panel at one, right?
Yeah, 1 o'clock
I'm not sure who's on.
today, so.
Thank you.
I think you mentioned, you said you attended BOCES.
Correct.
Do you feel that made a positive impact?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the best decisions I made. I didn't know much about BOCES when I was in high school. And when I got to the point, my dad was kind of looking, oh, what do you want to do for college? I wasn't really sure. He was like, oh, I was a junior. He's like, why don't you check out BOCES? I hear you. They have all the different trades. They have nursing, cosmetics. They have a whole bunch of different, more hands-on classes that you can take, where you take your regular high school classes either in the morning or the afternoon, and the other half you go over to BOCES. Mine was up in Westchester, so I did electrical, so I was there. We had a union electrician, probably worked in the industry 30 years, teaching us all the different things about electrical construction. Like I said, that kind of sparked my interest to get into the construction industry, and that's what I ended up going to college for. So it's definitely, like I said, when I was in high school, I didn't push it that much. Once you find out about it, I thought it was the best decision that I made to go.
Have any of you ever done study abroad? So how was the experience?
I have not personally.
No, I didn't.
I studied abroad in France. I went to SUNY Buffalo, which, all the SUNY campuses apparently, they share study abroad programs. So even if you weren't to go to Buffalo, say you went to SUNY Delhi or something like that, my understanding is you can go to another SUNY school's study abroad program if, say, Delhi didn't have something. And yeah, I studied outside of Paris for 5 months, and my classes were English, which was awesome. And yeah, like when I was on the outside looking in with that, it's like you imagine study abroad internships being like, you know, you're studying writing or something like that, and you can sit in front of the Eiffel Tower and write. But turns out, no, you can't study engineering and study abroad. And I did it not knowing a lick of French.
I just want to say we're looking at colleges, because looking at colleges too, I mean, it seems like some programs of engineering just say, no, you can't study abroad, there's no time to schedule, and then others really seem to make it fit and work, so if it's something you want, I would definitely ask the schools you're looking at if it can fit into the engineering degree or not, because some seem to make it a priority and some are like,
Yeah, no, it's a good point. You're right. Some schools, it's like you're here taking these classes, other ones give you the opportunity. So obviously, when you do your college research, you look to see what kind of things they offer or make a decision.
For mine, it was the one study abroad program they had was in Scotland for civil engineering at my school, and they really kind of fit it in your junior year. So if you try to fit it in senior year, you kind of miss some of your electives. So certain classes that were taught abroad, you wouldn't get here, or vice versa. So it's just more timing based too, to look at that, see if it's easier to kind of study abroad early on or later on within your program. Depending on.
Questions here? I think we might have answered a lot of these questions we have up here, but let's see. Probably engineering, we kind of went through that. But moving us to what college you went to, we can dive into this. You can start us off.
Yeah, money, influence, you know, I definitely didn't have the greatest marks coming out of high school and going into college, so I wasn't getting $50,000 free ride paid scholarships everywhere, so that's why I chose SUNY schools. I was a resident of New York already, so Buffalo ended up being good for me. It was like 2.5 hours away from home, you know, close enough that my parents could visit if they wanted to, but not too close, you know. So, yeah, those were the two main things, money and geography.
So I swam competitively for 12 years, so I was more looking if I could really swim anywhere and study at the same time. I figured East Coast, you know, staying close, not too close, can't really go home on the weekend. I ended up looking at University of New Hampshire, and when I visited, I just like really loved the campus, and you just, you know, people say this all the time, they're like, oh, you get the feeling, you know, and I kind of did. It was just great. My parents felt comfortable sending me there. And the engineering school, I liked how many different options they had. I know certain schools, they just have math, depending on where you go. But within my college, they had so many to choose from. They had ocean engineering, and I felt comfortable enough and safe enough to go there that if I didn't like one major, I had more than enough to choose from, or I could kind of bounce around a little bit.
Yeah, very similar answers. One, I also went to SUNY Delhi, so financially, it's one of the more affordable schools to go to. Same thing, it's in the Northeast, so it's close enough. I ever need to come home, I can, but it is 3 hours, so you're not coming home every weekend. It lets you kind of be on your own and grow. And then it's more as the degree for, like I said, it was a very hands-on technical school. So my first 2 years at college, I was working with my hands doing electrical work, and then it has the construction management program for 4 years. Yeah.
Did you feel like your colleges assisted you with postgraduate job placement? Generally, do they?
I would say my school did a very good job, especially the program I was in. They always advertise that they have 100% job placement in the construction management field. A lot of the professors at this school used to work for my company, so that's the way I got my first internship. Wayne Turner came up, did a presentation in front of all the construction management students, had some on-campus interviews, and then offered an internship. So, and not just my company, a bunch of other companies come up every year. They host a golf tournament or that my program for companies to come up and try to find students.
Yeah, so at my school they have a civil design, senior design project So they had different companies local to the area kind of assist students with one of the projects that they were working on. So they actually got students involved, which is great. I know a lot of my friends got jobs like that they worked with. We had a career fair twice a year, similar to this, just walk around, meet all the different companies. But yeah, they had even, I think they called it Handshake. So it's more like Indeed, but focused on your college. So that was an easier way to have your resume online and the employers can kind of sift through and reach out to you directly, which helped.
Very similar experiences, easy, yeah. The college does a good part reaching out, and like we had a STEM fair that was just like this thing, but for college kids, and the same exact thing. You got to walk up to booths and talk to people and shake hands and stuff like that. But they will do a good amount, and this applies to internships too. You also need to do your fair share of figuring out what you want, or at least getting your name out there, calling people. Like, you can always submit a resume online, but the big next step is you find someone's business card with an email and just say, I applied, I'm really interested in this, or give them a phone call, or see them face to face. And that'll really bring you the next step. Yeah, they dig it.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, all these schools can provide you with the school fairs or company presentations, but you also want to make an initiative to actually show up to these. They're not usually required at the colleges. It's up to you if you want to go. So I would try to attend as many events as you can. You might start seeing familiar faces. Do I have to know what type of engineering you want to do? Or do you want to explain?
I think you nailed it with yours. Yeah. Like,
I mean, I went undecided, so I had no idea. I just knew engineering. And most of the courses, freshman and sophomore year, are all pretty much the same throughout all engineering majors that I saw. So if you did decide to switch, it was pretty easy. Within the first 2 years or so, I would say. So you have some time to figure it out, and ask around. Professors are fun to talk to too.
your first couple of years are the same classes for the most part, and then you really begin to specialize in the latter.
What can I do with engineering? I mean, I think you kind of touched it. Like you said, there's plenty of different careers, all intersect. So, a lot of opportunities out there.
So follow this all the way around to the far end.
Presentation, and we have a lot of questions or anything else.
You guys are probably sitting at your tables downstairs, right?
Yeah, we're all here most of the day. Tables, feel free to come around. Let's enjoy it. Thanks, guys, for